So the NYX glitter glue, really like it. You can go in with your fingers, but I find that if I put it on the brush, and I kind of have a little dense brush, it gives me a little bit better coverage and density. And I put it kind of in the middle area. The only complaint I have as a mature lady putting on the NYX glitter glue, it does make, all that good eye cream that I've been putting on to youthen my eyes. As it dries, it can be a little crunchy, looking underneath a little more tight, showing a little more texture is what we like to call it. And then I take a clean brush and go in with my glitter. And you kind of have a certain amount of time period for this. And then sometimes I find the brush works better. It just depends on the glitters. Sometimes the finger works better. If you get the glitter a little bit too much to the inner corner, again, it can show texture and accentuate our wrinkles, but we do what we do. When I was younger, I wore makeup all the time. Those of you that know me in real life know that then I really never wore any makeup for the longest time. And, when I was at home healing from my bilateral hip replacements, I started watching all these little girls and their makeup tutorials and realizing how fun and creative makeup was for me. But, I'm single, deliberately single. I don't go out a whole lot, so I'm okay cleaning up once in a while. Now, I'm a child of the 80s, and we do mix our blue and pink. I don't care, haters gonna hate. And I maybe should have done this before I put that fabulous glitter on, but let's see. I'm gonna use my Makeup by Mario palette, and there's this really beautiful blue right here, and it's gonna take very little. And I'm just gonna take the tiniest bit and just layer and diffuse around the edges, just for a little definition to tie in with my eye color and smoke it out, if you will. Now, had I really been thinking about this, I'm not used to really filming myself going into drag queen mode, but I would have laid that on first. But I put a copious amount of glitter on, so I think we're okay. And then again, it's good to diffuse. I go back with the brush that I had for my pink stuff. I just want to kind of smooth out those lines without taking off all my glitter. And there's some really nice shimmers in here too. So let's play with this one. Put a little of this over. It's a smaller ground up glitter, not as chunky, but why not? I'm gonna get to go out to eat dinner. These are my friends that have taught me the joy of listening to live music. I did not realize that I had been missing out on this all these years. As a dancer, we get really focused on dancing and what it looks like and making it look fancy, and how liberating it is to just hear music, hang out with your homies, and just bop around and no one cares. And if they do, they're just not my crowd. So now I go in with my eyelash curler, because I like to do that before I get into the mascara, before I get into the eyeliner, because it just might take it off. It also gunks up your eyelash curler. It's just more to clean if you want to keep things sanitary. And I go in. Some people get kind of crazy with their eyelash curling. I'm kind of lame about it. I fortunately have fairly long lashes, so if I curl at the base, they're usually okay. This eye is a little wonkier than the other. Everybody has one. So let's build upon that blue and the blue of my eyes with the Give Line It Up liner in bath water. I mean, she has a song about it. And this liner and some of Lady Gaga's liners are safe for waterline. So I am funny. I try to wear mostly clean makeup lines, but there are some exceptions. And if it's something that I really want for a fact, I'm not super fancy about my waterline. I'm kind of a sissy about it, as you can tell. But we make it happen. Awesome. And then from there, I am going to go in with a black liner today. So I'm going to try to look more at, and actually, I am going to clean up a bit. Oh, but before we do that, let's go to, this is a brand called Zazu. I got it at the health food store many years ago. It's very old, but it's made of compressed flowers and it's very white. And, you know, again, with being someone that's done stage makeup, I'm kind of all or nothing. You know, when I go out, if I'm going to put on the makeup, I'm just going to make it more pronounced. But I go on up in the orbital bone. I don't mind if it looks a little intense. And then I have a couple really great highlighters. We're going to use the Makeup by Mario Opal. And I like to put that just a tiniest bit up before I get my brow gel in, because I'm notorious for slopping stuff on. But see the nice sheen that that gives it? You know, all that glitters might be gold or opal. And I'm still distracted by glittery things. Who are we kidding? So now I'm just going to go back in and kind of blend that out a bit so it's not got a harsh line. But sometimes I'm notorious for that, because when you dance on stage, you want the hard lines so that you have definition from stage. So again, you know, it's just kind of where I'm at. Some days I do more than others. So now I'm going to go in for, clean up first. Clean up on aisle 11. Sometimes I use a makeup wipe. This is just a little tiny sample size of some micellar water. I really use very little, and I'm kind of a bit of a minimalist, so instead of getting a big bottle, I just use the tiniest bit. And what I hate about this process is I'm kind of taking off some of my fabulous eye cream, but I will go back in with some more to make sure I have enough so I don't have some dried, crusty eyes when I get into foundation land. Catching out the fallout. And then I'm just sure to really kind of dry it. And you'll notice I'm kind of going up on a diagonal. The older we get, this has more of the lift, if you will. I'll clean that out later and fill it in with some other things. But in the meantime, you're gonna notice I'm gonna take the tiniest bit of my eye cream and put that back down. Just the tiniest bit. So that that's good and moisturized, because for me, that's just always, you know, I'm always gonna have those lines. Maybe, you know, maybe I can keep them from getting worse, but it's just where the way God made me as I'm aging. So now when I go in with my liner, I've kind of kept a nice clean line to put the liner. And again, I stink at doing liquid liners, so I kind of have to cheat with the marker versions. And I kind of go on the upper diagonal, and then I fill it back in. Gosh, it's kind of nerve-wracking doing liner while you're on camera. And then I pat in right against the eyelashes so that I'm not losing a lot of space on my eyelid. As we get older, heavy eyeliner kind of closes off the eye. And I'm gonna let that dry a little before I go in on the bottom, so I don't end up with it all. And sometimes I don't even use a liquid liner on the bottom. I use a cream and then I blend it out. But I still am going to blend this out a little bit. And I have a nice little brush for that. Where did it go? Where did you go? Oh, well, no, not that one. Oh, here it is, of course. It's not so much a brush, but a smudger. But I do have that brush that I used on the other video. That was actually what I was looking for, but this will work. And we're gonna clean that up later, because you can tell it's really closed in my eye. But again, once I finish with other products, that will change. So now let's go into foundation, which is kind of fun for me because I don't do full frontal often. This is the Peptide Bounce Balm Foundation in Fair Light. Now I also love their This Corrects Everything Liquid Filter. And this is a little thinner, but I want to do an experiment because it's like 81 degrees here in Ohio. And I want to test this out with my Tarte Lifelock setting spray. But as we get into summer, if I even wear foundation in the sun, which would be very rare, I'm just not one of those girlies. I might do a little eye makeup, some lips, and call it a day. But we're going to go on with the thicker one just to see. And I love the Dalton Precision Cover and Contour Brush. So what's nice is you pop it open, and it really keeps the product sealed so it stays moist. And before I do that, I'm going to lay on my concealer. I'm really blessed from just living a healthy lifestyle, all the supplements I take, all the yoga and things that I do. I don't tend to hold a lot of discoloration here. A lot of people do color correcting. Some of that can be genetic. Some of it is also, what you're eating and drinking and putting in your body. Again, we all have different propensities. I sometimes put a little here where I've got the marionette lines, sometimes up here, and you can even put a little down here. And I've got my little lines from sleeping on my side, so we're just gonna lighten them there. I look kind of like a crazy Lion King production. Zibenya! So now I go in with this powder or cream to powder, if you will, and you just want to bounce it on the skin, and I kind of get it in the general area. It doesn't take much. But honestly, it's my favorite part because I hardly ever do it. And then I kind of mix it with my concealer. I put it over the lips. And then I'm going to go on my forehead. Blending it toward the hairline. Now this is a lighter shade, but I find that, again, I don't wear a lot of foundation, so in the summer, am I going to get a darker shade, or am I just going to not wear as much eye makeup or full frontal makeup with all the foundation? And I'm going to clean up and brush up, softening that black line, kind of bounce it around. It's just really more skincare with the peptides. And then I brush it down. Now, some ladies get crazy. They put it on their chest, their neck. That's just not me. You want to blend it in best you can. Having blonde hair, though, it's very easy to discolor. And you want to really snap it closed and snap it closed. And there is that. Now, my new favorite thing are using, what is it called? Bronzing. Or you can call it sculpting. And I love this Winky Lux. I don't think it's so much a clean brand, but it's a really fun container. My other one that I use is a Mario stick that I like, and I use that one too, but it's a slightly different color. And I go up a little higher to chisel out. I like to put a few dots around the forehead, and I like to put a tiniest bit under the lip for definition, and just a little bit under the chin. I don't get too crazy. Some people really do. I'm a little more conservative with that. Again, this was a brush that I got. It says Energy 170 on Amazon. I'll have to tag it for you. And it really just kind of pats in like butter. So you do want to pat versus brushing so that you don't take the makeup underneath it away. And you want to keep it in that general vicinity. And then I go to the forehead next, just in case anything would dry down. I don't want to have a really harsh line. And then I kind of diffuse it in a bit. Some people really get crazy with their contour. I'm kind of not that person, but a little bit. I mean, let's face it, I've got a big forehead. It stores all my higher awareness in my thinking, one would hope, right? With my brain. But it's nice to have a little warmth to your skin. And from there, I go into a really fun blush. This was kind of a pricey blush, Patrick Ta, She's a Doll. And it's just, one of those colors. So back in the day when I worked at the makeup counter, when we had these pink colors, we used to call them white girl pink, because my melanated ladies were like, you can't put that on me, it's gonna be crazy. And then the Barbie movie came out and everyone was like, I want to work the pink. And thank goodness makeup is so much more diverse and inclusive now. When I worked at Clinique years ago, when the wheel was first invented, it was really hard to help my melanated sisters have any of the Clinique that match them. And now makeup companies are doing better. And I love that there are these brilliant pinks and mauves for fair skin, medium skin, and darker skin. So for this, I go back in with the same brush I used for my contour. And there's always like, do you use the cream first, then the powder? Everybody says something different. For me, I like to do the cream first. Some people do the cream after because it makes it more dewy looking, but all my skin prep and the Bloom Spa makeup does that for me. And then at the end of the day, the Tarte, which is supposedly a clean line, I mean, people argue about just darn near anything, is supposed to be a dewy finish as well. And I just kind of go slightly above. And I like to do my concealer first because otherwise I get like a weird shape here that shows Erica just put concealer on there, and I just don't like that look. But it might also just be the way that I'm shaped. I'm part Cherokee, so I've just got the bags under my eyes. This is just how my people are made. And again, I'm just kind of bouncing it up and then diffusing it. I will say I'm guilty of blush blindness. I love that my bathroom has a natural window for natural light, but it does make it very easy for me to over blush. But again, I rarely wear makeup, and if I do, I want it to show. Now I have this really great, speaking of a sable brush, this is a sable brush I've probably had since I was 19, 20, 21. So it is cherished, but it's a very big brush. And if I just put it in there, I wouldn't be able to control it. So I kind of hold down on the brush so that I don't get too much product. And so it doesn't diffuse too much as I brush it on. And working over the cream, I'm just a little gentle. I don't want to disturb the cream, but I do want to set it. And then I'll just get a tiniest bit more for the other side. All right. Now I get to one of my favorite parts. Setting powder, which is kind of controversial as I've gotten older. I used to really use the heck out of setting powder. This is the Ilia setting powder, Fade Into You, soft focus finishing powder. It has an incredible smell, derived, I believe, from natural plant material. And I like to use my puff. I just got these puffs on Amazon. I do wash them and let them dry because, again, I try to be sustainable. And I'll put some on the puff, and then I take it on my hand and put a little on the back of my hand. And I am kind of cautious with what I am putting under the eye. I say that and then I get a bunch of big junk there, but that's okay. We'll clean it up later. And then I kind of go around the edges of my blush where I did get a little crazy to diffuse it. What I like is this has a very transparent look, so I don't feel that it is really drying. I feel that it kind of still keeps your glow. And again, I'm just telling you, that Bloom Spa, it's just incredible. Now, a lot of ladies set their makeup with their spray, their setting spray after they do eyebrows and eyelashes. I am not that lady. And mascara, I feel it makes my mascara drop. So here I'm going in with the Tarte Lifelock Hydrating Setting Spray. And obviously I close my eyes. So we'll see. I've never really wore full frontal makeup in 81-degree weather unless I had to dance in a show. And I'm kind of curious to see what happens through the night. But it kind of brings the glow back, melts everything together, and I'll be back.